Alright, hello. This video is going over sections 4.1 to 4.4 reviewing, getting ready for you to do the quiz on Schoology on the same sections. Alright, and then for today's lesson, no new assignment. Yeah, so here we go with the review. I'd have pencil, paper, calculator out, right, so you can do these questions with me. I think that'll be the most meaningful for you. Okay, so we are actually going to start with graphing, and we're graphing quadratics, right? These both have little x squareds in them, and there's two different ways, one in vertex form and one in standard form, right? And how you graph is actually wildly different. So pause the video, see if you can figure out how to graph these. These are two separate parabolas. See if you can figure out how to graph them using the two different methods. Okay, so this, when it's in the vertex form, we basically are just going to shift stuff around. So like the normal parabola starts at 0, 0, but this one's going to go to the right 2 because of the minus 2. It's opposite of what we think, so actually makes it go right 2, and this goes up 3. Right, so that's where the parabola is going to start, and then the negative 2 part is going to make it flip upside down, because it's negative, and the 2 means it's going to stretch. Okay, and this is a vertical stretch. So what I mean by stretch is like if the normal one looks like that, a stretched version looks up like that. It goes up faster than it did before. So when I draw this parabola, I'm going to draw it upside down and stretched, right? Because of the negative 2, I'm going to start at my vertex point of 2, 3, but then I'm going to be upside down and stretched. All right, the other way to graph is quite a bit different, and so the trick here is this one was easy to find the vertex point, not so much when we're in standard form, right? So in order to find it in standard form, the vertex is an xy point, all right, and there's a formula for finding the x coordinate of the vertex, specifically negative b over 2a. All right, so from our equation here, a is the 2 and the 4 is b. So basically here they are, right? A is whichever in front of x squared, b is whichever in front of x. So I'm going to do the opposite of b over 2 times a. So negative 4 over 4, negative 1. All right, so I know my vertex is at x negative 1, y something. To figure out the something, we've got to put in our value for x. So here x is negative 1, so I'm going to plug it in for x in both spots. Sorry for the poor handwriting there, that's 4 times negative 1. If I can get that to show up a little bit better. Yikes, computer not working. Alright, so now just do PEMDAS. So I'm going to square this first. So negative 1 squared is 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1 times 2. 4 times negative 1. And then we just have to subtract 3 on the end. So if I combine all that going left to right, that would be negative 5. Okay, so when I graph, sorry my graph doesn't quite fit on here now, but I'm going to graph the point negative 1, negative 5. Okay, so there's my vertex point. And then I always like to draw the axis of symmetry right away, just going right through the middle of it. Right, so I'm going to draw that in. And then the other point I'm going to use to help make my graph is this number on the end, this c, is the y-intercept number. Okay, so I'm going to plot that y-intercept of negative 3, and then I'm able to reflect it across over here, and that's it. Right, so I'm just going to take those points and then draw my parabola. And I have a hard time drawing it on here, I'm not going to lie, so I'm not going to draw it. It keeps going up higher, but generally that's where my parabola is. Right, so I use those 3 points just to connect the dots, make sure the vertex is actually where it should be. And boom, we've got our graph. Okay, and so it's 2 different methods. Very, very different. Both of these will be on today's quiz. Okay, so just some vocab with parabola graphs here. So on this one, I can't remember what it looks like on the quiz, but I've already made the graph, right? So this is just the vertex form where I just go left 1 up 4 and then do -2, so I'm drawing it upside down. And then I'm going to use that graph to answer all of these questions. So pause the video and see if you can answer those now that we're given the graph, right? We started with the equation, but we make the graph and then see if you can find all of the different things listed here. Okay, so vertex, I'm literally just going to read off the graph. It's -1, 4. Okay, and you can sort of see it in the equation here, but it's just kind of reversed for the x part. So this was a +1, and the vertex is actually at -1. So I just like to use the graph. To me, it's a lot simpler. The axis of symmetry is the line that goes up and down. So let's see if I can draw it in here. It's just this line right. Well, that's a giant line, but it's just that line right there, and that's an x equals line. So it's just going to be x equals and then -1. Right? You can actually see it right there in the vertex. It's going through -1 on the x-axis. All right, we do have a max this time. Okay, and our max is like the y-coordinate, and the highest our parabola goes is 4. So we have a max of 4. Domain is what is possible for x, and for this one, and most parabolas, it goes forever in each direction on the x-axis. Right, x can be any of these negative numbers or any of these positives. So we say that's all real numbers. And then for range, it has to go with this max. So the max is 4 on the y-axis. All right, and so basically we want to be anything below that. All right, so it could be equal to, so it's y less than or equal to 4, because the highest we get is 4, and then we'll go everywhere below that. So the first part of the chapter was about graphing quadratics, graphing x squareds, right? And then the other huge part is to start to be able to factor them, all right? And so factoring, here is my summary of it. Always check for a greatest common factor first, all the time. Right? That should be the first thing. And then after you do that, you have to look for these different cases. So the difference between A and B, these are both 3 terms called a, right? They both have 3 parts. And the difference is, if it starts with a 3 here, then you got to do the long factor, right? Versus you can do the quick factor, the one up here, you can use like x plus 3, x plus 4. Basically, it's got to multiply that 12 and add to 7. That's easy. You can't quite do that trick here. You've got to do that long factor. All right, and then the last one is just the square minus square case, where these are both perfect square numbers, and x squared is also a perfect square. So you just kind of split it up and say, to make 9x squared, I need 3x and 3x, kind of like the square root, sort of. And then to make -16, I need -4 and +4. Okay, and so as weird as it seems, that thing is equal to those two. If we were to FOIL it out, we could see that we'd get, if I draw this out here, we'd get the -16 from here, and the 9x squared from those two. And then the middle 2 terms would actually be 12x and -12x. If you look right here and right there, that's -12x and +12x. That's why there's like essentially 0x in the middle. So you don't have like the middle term like you do in the other ones. So, first factoring question. This would be your guide, right? So give this one a shot and then unpause the video. Alright, so hopefully you remembered GCF first, right? Because you might be tempted to think I have to do this long factor, right? But if you realize, hey, I can actually factor out the 4 out of all of these, pull it to the front, then I can avoid having to do long factor. Alright, so now that you're here, now we have a single x squared, so I'm going to keep the 4, I'm going to make 2 little parentheses, and then think, okay, to get x squared, I just need x and x, and then the other 2 things have to multiply to +9 and add up to -6. So if it's +9, I'm going to need 2 negatives, because then they'll add up to a negative value in the middle. Right? I could use 2 negatives or 2 positives here, but because they have to add up to -6, I'm going to use 2 negatives. Okay, and so you could make our list, but it's not a very long list here. So basically, it's going to be -3 and -3. That'll multiply to +9 and add up to -6. So we had to factor this twice, but our final answer is what you see on the bottom there. All right, pause the video, give this one a shot. So the trick is no GCF, right? There's nothing that evenly divides all three parts. So I have to do my long factor, right? And it's not my favorite, but we'll review that process one more time. So we're going to start by multiplying those two together, 3 and negative 10. Now it's similar to the other method. It has to add up to positive 13. So I know I'm going to need one negative and one positive. If they multiply to negative 30, I need the positive one to be bigger, right? Actually bigger by 13. So basically I can do like 1 and 30, negative 1, positive 30, negative 2, and 15. I usually go in order, like 1 divides 30, 2 divides, and negative 3. And I really don't need to keep going because the negative 2 and the 15 will add up to the 13. So anyways, I'm going to split this positive 13x into these two numbers in any order. So I'll maybe just do negative 2x plus 15x. That is equivalent to positive 13x. Okay, and then I'm going to bring down the 3x squared and the negative 10. Just bring them down. Now I'm going to group. So I'm going to group the front two, group the back two, and find GCFs out of those groups. In the front, we can take out just an x. We pull out just x. That'll leave us with 3x minus 2. And then in the back, they're both divisible by 5. So I'm going to bring a 5 to the front, leaving us with 3x minus 2. Okay, now it's happy fun times because these should match, right? If you get those that match, you can feel pretty confident. So our factors are whatever's in front, x plus 5, those two parts, and then the parts that match, 3x minus 2. So this little trinomial factors all apart to that. Okay, kind of a lot of steps. Once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. Okay, next factor question. Again, pause the video, give it a shot. Alright, so the trick here is they're both divisible by 2, but because the first one is negative, I'm actually going to pull to the front a negative 2. So I'm going to bring that to the front, leaving us with positive x squared and negative 25. Okay, and then we're not actually done because this is our square minus square case. So I'm going to have negative 2, and then that factors to x minus 5 and x plus 5. Alright, and then boom, that is the factored version of this. Alright, so we factored it all apart, and that's what we got for our answer. Alright, that is it for the review. Thank you for watching.